This program is sponsored by TREBON Financial Strategies. You can't win the game if you don't know the rules. Welcome to the How Money Works Masterclass. Did you know that financial illiteracy is the #1 economic crisis in the world? This masterclass is where you will improve your financial literacy and learn how to stop being a sucker. In this short series, you will learn several key concepts that will create a foundation for healthy financial habits, teaching you how to earn, spend, save, manage, and invest your money. You work hard for your money. Isn't it time you learn how to make your money work for you?
And welcome to episode 1. I'm Kent Adams, and I'm pleased to have Dan Blanchard with us today. And we're going to talk about insurance. It's insurance month this month, okay? Life insurance. That's really important. But let me give you a little background on Dan. And Dan, you've been around for a while, and I don't want to make that sound negative, right. Okay? Yeah. But you've been in the business in a number of different ways. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I actually have a long career in aerospace before I got into the financial business. Okay. But I launched my financial company in 2013. Okay. After I left aerospace, but even prior to that, I was involved with. I was a coach and counselor for Crown Financial Ministries. Okay. And Financial Peace University. So I've always had my hands in helping people with their finances.
Yeah, and
really, really enjoy that.
That's when we've talked before. That's really been kind of a life goal for you, is to help people, isn't it?
It has been. Yeah. So once I was able to figure out how to actually monetize that, and, make a living. We all have to make a living, right?
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah.
Right. It was really nice to be able to figure that piece out in 2013 and start doing it.
Yeah. What is your specialty?
Specialty right now is tax advantage retirement planning. Okay. I really focus on that because we are heading into some pretty high tax times, right? Yes. With the world's kind of crazy, and
I hadn't noticed.
Yeah, well, there's some weird things going on, and even prior to all that, there's tax rates are going to have to go up in order to sustain what's going on. So I really focus on helping people get into those retirement years and achieve most of their income tax free.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned this is Life Insurance Month, and so what is life insurance? Let's start out with the basics.
The basics, right? That's a great question. I think when most people think about life insurance, they think about income protection or the death benefit. Okay. Because and it's a hard thing to talk about for a lot of people because who really wants to talk about their own mortality, right?
Right.
We don't.
It's not going to happen to us.
It's a fact of life or death, however you want to look at it. Yeah. But we don't want to talk about it, right? No. So it's easy to put off. But most people think that life insurance is just about that death benefit. And really, it's a lot more than that. Yeah. It is, when it's properly used, it is a great estate planning tool. Yes. It is a great tool for retirement planning. Yes. And we talked a minute ago about tax-free income. It is a phenomenal tax-free income
It's one of
tool.
The few things that we can get, our family can get, and so forth, that we don't have to pay the taxes on.
Exactly. Yeah. And even yourself, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but even yourself, you can access that money tax-free, even while you're still alive.
Right. Yeah. We've been through the last year or so with this pandemic. I know you've noticed it, like we all have. Yes. What effect has that had on the interest in life insurance now?
Yeah, it is interesting. There's been some polls done and some studies, and in January of 2020, of the polls, about a third of people surveyed said that they intended to get life insurance within the next 12 months.
Yeah, we all intend.
Yeah, everybody intends, right? A lot of people intend. That number in May, just 5 months later, that number jumped up to over half. About 53% or so of the people surveyed were saying, you know what, this is more important to me. I think the majority of those people are thinking of the death benefit portion of it. They're not, because so many people just do not understand what life insurance can do for them while they're still alive. Right. So I think that's probably where that number's coming from. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and I hope people that want the protection will go get it, because it is just important to have.
Well, I think I think asking the question of an advisor is what's important, because it's not one size fits all.
That is true.
Yeah.
And it's important to have a good advisor that understands the holistic plan. Right. That's one thing I focus on. I look at the whole plan for my clients and help them understand how does life insurance, because that's one small piece of their overall plan. Yes. This happens to be Life Insurance Awareness Month, so we're talking about it today. Right. But we want to take that and make people help them understand.
That's only part of the scenario that we should be
really a small part. It's important, but small.
This will be a very easy question for you to answer. How much life insurance should we have?
Great question. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's real easy.
Yeah.
So how much is, it's actually not too hard to come to a conclusion,
Okay.
get an answer there, but it is different for everybody. There's a lot
Exactly.
of
That was my
variables,
point.
right?
Yes.
So the first thing you have to determine is, I've talked about two things about life insurance. Is it a death benefit you're looking for to
Right.
protect your loved ones, or are you looking for it for that estate planning or retirement planning? So that's the first thing to determine. And then, you know, within each of those, there's some formulas to figure out how much is going to be the right amount
Right.
and all that. But as a general rule of thumb, generally speaking, if it's for the death benefit and protection of your beneficiaries, 10 times your income is a good number to
okay.
sort of start with, just to get
Okay.
an idea. Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm making 50,000, should I have a
Half
half
a
million at least
Exactly.
in that?
Yes.
Yeah. And today with the choices of term and everything else out there, there are a number of ways to put that package together.
There are many.
That doesn't have to bankrupt you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, and that's a great point about the cost of it. right?
Yes.
So the cost, a lot of people will ask, well, or they'll either ask or they'll ignore it because they think it's too much.
Yeah.
You know, people will typically underestimate the amount of insurance they need. They typically overestimate the amount it's going to cost them.
Okay.
And most people are pleasantly just surprised when we're able to present some numbers to them that fits within their budget. So it's all across the board, but it all depends on their goals and what they want. But there's usually something for everybody.
Yeah.
That'll fit their budget.
Is this a good time now to be buying life insurance?
There is never a bad time to buy
Okay,
life insurance.
okay.
And it is really a good time. It's not like the pandemic made it, unattainable or anything like
Right,
that.
right.
So it's not, if people are thinking that. This is actually a good time, just like any time is. It hasn't played a huge effect on rates or anything like that.
I was going to say, in the past, I know there have been times when the rates have really gone up and so forth, and it became less sexy to buy
Right.
life insurance, but we're not seeing that right now, are we?
No, we're not. And even then, we can look at the different options to find something.
Okay.
There are a myriad of options.
Speaking of those options, the two are that I can think of are the temporary,
Term. Temporary
okay.
term, yeah.
and the long term,
which is permanent.
Permanent,
So those are the two high-level classifications of insurance.
Right.
There's term and
but
permanent.
there are a lot of subtopics in there.
Well, you can mix them,
Yes,
for one.
yes.
And there's a lot within. Now, term is pretty specific. Term is it's pretty simple. You have a set term of time
Yes.
that policy is good for.
And it goes away
Usually in
forever.
10-year increments. Yeah, 10, 20, maybe 30 years. And then once it is finished, it's finished, right? So
Right.
it is to cover people that might have a young family, high mortgage, something like that. If the primary breadwinner
Yeah.
is to pass, that will protect their surviving. The other side is the permanent. There's a lot of flexibility. Within permanent, there's several different flavors
Really?
of insurance, and everybody needs to understand which ones are going to work best for them. And
Yeah.
that's where it helps to talk with somebody.
I was going to say, that's where you can sit down and go, because you find out more history about their family, their situation, what business obligations they might have to hold on to the business for the family, or all of those things start factoring in.
Yeah.
And if you pass away, it's too late to do anything about it.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Wills and life insurance are the two things you can't do
Yeah.
after the fact,
You mentioned there are other things about the death benefit, other than the death benefit and so
Yeah.
forth. What are those?
Well, one of them, this is kind of the exciting part about life insurance, if there is one, right? I mean,
Yeah, I've
it's
never
just
heard of it
exciting.
as being exciting
Yeah.
or sexy.
Yeah.
But important
Yes.
is the key
Well,
word,
let
isn't
me
it?
see if I can change your mind a little bit,
Okay.
because I think exciting can come into play here. One of the strategies that we employ a lot with a lot of our clients, and that is that tax-free savings
Yeah.
goal, right?
You got my attention now.
That's right.
Okay.
If you're building money in a bucket, any kind of savings account, no matter where
Right.
it is, and now I can say, well, that's also going to be tax-free. Now all of a sudden it gets your attention,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
like,
it
wait a
did.
minute, you mean I can get my money out tax-free, and by the way, I don't have to die to get access to that money?
Yeah.
That's where I think it is kind of exciting for people to learn that, because
Yeah.
they had no idea in many cases that was possible. So that's one piece. Another piece is one of the, we're all getting older, right? We're not going backwards.
Oh, thanks for bringing that up.
And with that said, usually with age, for most people, comes health issues, right? So in the past, the best way to get around that was to purchase a separate long-term care insurance policy on themselves. So that way, if they got into a situation where they could not function, you know, they could tap into that insurance policy to help them pay for the expenses for someone to take care of them or a facility or whatever. Well, insurance companies now, a properly structured life insurance plan will have some long-term care built into the plan. And what's nice about that, it's significantly less money than a standalone policy.
Yes.
And the good news is that in the event that they get to die peacefully in their sleep, as we all hope would happen, right? They didn't have to pay all this extra money, and their beneficiaries will get their money.
Yeah.
So
and when you mention that, and you talk about the disability, long-term disability, and all of that, I think back to my mom, who got it at almost before you couldn't buy it anymore, and it was not inexpensive, and she ended up in the kind of care that used it all up.
Yeah.
But it was good to have it there.
It's great to have it there. It'll protect the rest of your estate as well.
Yes.
Because, you know, if nobody really chooses to be on Medicaid.
No.
But in order to get to the Medicaid level, you have to burn through just about everything you have to. So it's protection from that. So that the biggest thing, like I said, the tax-free income portion is pretty exciting.
I love that.
The long-term care is not necessarily exciting, but it's very important because it will protect the rest of
Yes, because we're living longer.
That
and
too.
we're usually living in facilities as we get much older.
And they're not cheap.
No, I know. I think back to my mom and actually my dad. He had Alzheimer's and so forth, and we don't want to leave some of that burden for our kids and grandkids.
That's right.
You know what I mean? We need to be thinking about that.
That's right.
Okay, simple question. I'm going to guess that's more than a simple answer, but who needs life insurance?
Well, I'm going to say just about everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, not everybody, right? If I put my salesman hat on, everybody needs it, right?
Yeah,
But first and foremost, the people that need it is anybody that has people that depend on them financially.
Yes.
So let's think of a parents, for example, parents of small children, parents of a young family. That's very important to have some form of protection because if one of those parents were to pass away, because most people live at or above their income level as far as expenses, right?
And most families now have two incomes.
Two incomes.
Even one going away.
And needing both of those.
Yes,
incomes, right?
yes.
So if one of those goes away, it leaves them in a pretty tight spot.
Yes.
So insurance is very beneficial for them. And again, there are some options that makes it very easy to pay for in some of those. The next one that a lot of people overlook is business owners, and especially business partners.
Yes.
So let's use an example of just two partners. You know,
Okay.
you can have various partners, and let's just say they're 50% partners. If they don't have an insurance policy in place on each other,
Yes.
you know, then and one of those partners passes away, well, that 50% of those assets go to the surviving spouse.
Right.
More times than not, the surviving spouse isn't involved in the
Right,
business or
right,
cannot contribute at the level of the spouse
Right,
that we lost,
right.
right? So therefore, now that the surviving partner, what do? They're kind of burdened with, you know, half the profits still need to go to that other person, right?
Yeah.
So an insurance policy can help them transition and buy out that surviving spouse who generally doesn't want part of the business anyway, right? Because that wasn't
most
their
of the
thing.
time I think you're right.
Yeah, and it also provides some capital and some cash there for the surviving business owner to go out and replace that position with somebody else that can do it, because they were probably partners because they couldn't do all of it themselves.
Right.
So that's important. And then the third one, those two are based on the death benefit protection or the income protection of those people. The third type of person that needs it are the people that death benefit isn't the primary concern. There's still a death benefit there because maybe their kids have moved out, their mortgage is gone or very low, so they still have a spouse they want to make sure is taken care of. But that's a much lesser liability, right? So there's a little death benefit, but what's more important there is for their estate planning, their retirement planning, that tax-free income. Those are people that need to understand how it can work for them in a way similar to a Roth IRA works from a tax situation.
Well, speaking of a Roth IRA and so forth, why would they need life insurance?
So life insurance, first of all, it's a great supplement to anybody that already has a Roth.
Okay.
And is a great substitute if they don't have one.
Okay.
Now, see, here's the thing with a Roth. Roths are great, by the way. So the Roth is another great. Roth and insurance are the only two ways you can get tax-free income.
Okay.
So know that first of all, right? But the Roth has limitations. First of all, you have to have earned income in order to contribute to a Roth.
Right.
So not people, especially once they get into retirement, they don't have earned income.
Right.
They have income from other sources. There are income limits. If you make, quote unquote, too much money, which that's what we all want, right?
Yeah.
But if you make too much
I'd
money.
like to have that problem.
Yeah, exactly. Based on the IRS's rules.
Right.
Then it's like, oh, sorry, you make too much money, so you can't contribute there. And then we've got another thing is called sequence of return risk.
Okay.
If you go into retirement and in the first year or 2, 3, the market, if all your money's in market-based securities like a Roth,
Yes.
and that market takes a tank,
Yes.
because it will. We know it will. We just never know when or how much.
Exactly.
Right? So we can't plan
Exactly.
that. If it takes a tank and all your money is in a market-based situation like a Roth, now all of a sudden, well, you still need to live, right? So now you have to draw at its low. So a life insurance plan can have the same tax benefits, but now it will never go down. It's protected from ever going down. So you can draw from that one, let that market-based plan recover.
Because it will.
Because it will over time. I mean, if history has anything to say about it, but it will go up and down.
Right,
You just never know how much.
There's a book.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the book.
There is a book, and we talk about this a bit in the book. I cannot stress enough how important this book is. This has become required reading in my household.
Okay.
It's only been out since earlier this year, and it's one of my business colleagues that wrote the book.
Okay.
And it is a great book. It's got a lot of, similar to the graphics,
Right.
some colorful pages, easy to read. It's all the, let's just say it's all the boring financial books out there that nobody really wants to read unless they're
no
nerds
kidding.
like me, right?
Yeah.
And distilled down to the important topics. So people learn how money works, stop being a sucker. And the reason our whole series is called that is because many of us that have been around a little longer than others.
Careful.
We've been
Just be careful, okay?
I'm just assuming, right?
Right.
We have been suckered here and there by some of the financial institutions and those who know how to play the game a little bit better than we do.
Yeah.
And so now what this book does is brings some of the concepts and teachings down to those of us in the working class. You don't have to be the elite wealthy in order to take
A little more
advantage of
even
these guys.
playing field.
Much more even.
So I can ask the right questions and you can't fool me, right?
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
knowledge is power, right?
yeah, it is. It
Knowledge
really
is power.
is. It
Yeah.
really is. How can people get this?
Well, I've got anybody that meets with me, they're going to get a free copy of this
Okay.
book. I'm going to give it to them, on my dime. So
Oh,
that's a
nice.
great way. They can contact me through my website.
Okay.
We'll have up on the screen. We'll
Right.
put the information there. But yeah, I would love to just chat with people. It's about getting them educated.
Yeah.
I really consider myself a financial educator first.
Right.
And I'm a financial professional second. Obviously we all have to make a living, right? But I really want to get it into people's hands. And whether they work with me or anybody else, it's just important they go do something with the
Well,
information.
it comes back to that education. Now I know enough to ask the smart questions because I think sometimes we put off things like planning for the future because we don't know where to start in asking the questions, and we're going to be overwhelmed by the salesperson out there,
Right.
versus
they're out there, unfortunately,
yeah, we've all seen them,
Yep,
okay,
yep.
but now I can ask some smart questions and hopefully get some smart answers back, right?
You've been empowered with some knowledge. right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, Dan, thank you. This
Yeah.
is important, and this is number one of a series,
It is.
right?
We're going to be doing a short series and of several different financial topics, all of which are in the book.
Okay.
But we just want to bring them out in another medium to help people just understand this information a lot better. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
knowledge is power, as you said, and you're absolutely right.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right,
All
very
right.
good.
Keep up the
Yes.
good work,
Thank
okay?
you.
And thanks for watching. Have a good day, everybody.
This program is sponsored by TREBON Financial Strategies. You can't win the game if you don't know the rules.